everybody.
Hello.
Hi. You are listening to What If Nothing's Wrong with You, which is a more and more poignant question every day. I feel like every day I'm like, wow, we really named this podcast well.
My therapist was literally like, your core belief is that there's something wrong with you. And I was like, wow, you're very good.
Wow.
I unconsciously started a podcast about that before I knew that.
Yes. I feel like it's a very, very poignant question. So we will continue to ask you on ourselves. What if nothing's wrong with you? By the way, I am Paula D. Atkinson.
I'm Lisa KK's.
And our friend Nameka is here. Our friend and producer is here. So we have a big one today. We're not even sure if we're going to get through all of it in one sitting. It might be a two-parter. We're all about to find out. But this is one of those that when Lisa and I figured out that we should do an episode on this, we're like, how have we not done this yet? But I feel like it's in every episode. It's just that we haven't really done it yet. So we're going to talk about heteronormativity and our obsession with monogamy, our obsession with romantic love, and our obsession with the fact that the idea that to get married and to have somebody fall in love with you is some kind of achievement, which, newsflash.
Crowning achievement, Paula. The crowning achievement of your life.
Of one's life. Yes. But first, I need to know your son's reaction to Lady Gaga's song Abracadabra.
Okay, before I tell you, I need you to understand that David doesn't like anything from like any of the movies you love. So I just need you to be prepared.
Okay, I'm prepared.
His reaction was mid.
Oh my God. Wait, what exactly does your son like?
I Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift. I mean, he's unpredictable. Young Sheldon, who knew that was he's Lost? I don't know. He's everywhere. He can't be pinned down. I'm always like, I signed us up for a parent-child improv class. He does improv all over our house. Like,
clearly,
we'll tell you and he was like, oh, do I have to, Mom? Just like, I can't. Yes, you do.
So literally, we just never know.
You can't pin him down. He's all over the map.
I respect that.
I respect
that. Okay. I mean, I think it's going to grow on him. And also the album we're recording this at the end of February. The album will be out soon. And so we'll see. We'll see.
But
I get it. I mean, he was not alive in 2008 when in 2009 when Fame and the Fame Monster came out. So I get it. Okay.
And he, I like Pink Pony Club. He was in, instantly. But I do feel like this means that your relationship with him is really secure because he's like, I have to tell Paula that she's wrong, and that's fine. So that's good.
I love that that silver lining. Yeah. Okay. If he can, I mean, this is twice that he's shit on Gaga to my face. So, I mean, we are secure. Our love language,
I was like, I'll tell her, but.
Right. We have a secure attachment. So I appreciate that. That I appreciate. Okay.
The Gen Alphas are feral. I mean, you just can't. We just don't know.
I support it though. Okay, that's fine. I will check back in a couple months when nobody else is listening to anything else other than Doechii and Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
So
it probably needs to show up on his cap cut, and then he's gonna be like, "Do you know this song? This is," and I'm gonna be like, "Dude, really? I have to go back to the podcast now. Tell them." And
tell you that. Oh, now he loves it. Did you show him the video of the dancing?
No, we just did the song in the car. Okay. So. And then he went on a long tirade about, and I hate Michael Jackson, and I hate Janet Jackson, and I was like, dude, this is a lot. I mean, he's against Michael for the ethics, which I respect, but also like the music was groundbreaking, but he doesn't care.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I didn't think my parents' music was groundbreaking either.
No.
I have a feeling, I don't know. I have no idea. I would be interested to know what he thought of the choreo because the choreography is... I mean, Nameka and I are still talking. Like, it's insane. Next,
I'm gonna show it to him. I mean, he was not impressed by Rhythm Nation, but maybe this will be what does it. I'm gonna show it to him.
Very different. We'll see what he says.
We can't know.
We can't know. We can't. The only thing I have to add to Chit Chat today is that Carlo and a bunch of my friends here went and saw Murray Hill perform live. And if you don't know who Murray Hill is, he plays Fred Akoko. Is that his last name? I don't know what his last name is, but he plays
sounds
the character,
right.
He plays the character Fred on Somebody Somewhere, and he is also a gender fluid trans performer who has been performing in New York City for 1,000 years and has actually been performing with Bridget Everett, the star of Somebody Somewhere, for 1,000 years. He is so cute. He is so amazing. It was really fun, and it was just another reminder. And what I want the listeners to be reminded of is, like, you must go see queer art right now. It's always imperative, but right now it's infinitely imperative. He was funny and lovely and hysterical, and he also played with our friend Selene Luna, who's this incredible performer who's like friends with Margaret Cho. It was just great to be around people being completely, authentically, expandedly their queer selves is necessary for everyone's mental health at this moment.
And you got your picture taken.
We did. We got to go have
the cutest picture.
I know.
Adorable.
Well, because Carlo, if we go to a comedy show, Carlo can't sit in the front row because I don't know if you know this, but Carlo a little bit sticks out. So we always sit back, but Fred didn't come out on stage. I mean, not Fred, sorry. Murray didn't come out on stage. Murray came down these like side stairs and just took a beeline to Carlo, of course. And he was like, "Oh, I'm in Palm Springs. Look at all these homosexuals. Are there any straights?" And Carlo like raised his hand just a little bit, and Murray was like, "No, you're not. Shut up." And he was like, "It's Bear Week. How much? How many drinks have you gotten bought for you?" And Carlo was like, "I'm kind of a big deal." And Murray was like, "Of course you are." And so then after we had to go hug him, like immediately Murray Hill came for Carlo. Immediately.
Was Carlo wearing his rainbow suspenders
no.
at the time? No,
he was not. He was not. He was not. But he does get a lot of attention in this town.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. So everybody seek out queer, weird, gender non-conform, gender fuckery right now. It's good for the soul.
The gender-based, I mean, I took that stand-up class for women and non-binary people. I have to say, the comedians, not just them, the people in my class who are doing brilliant work.
Yeah.
But the gender non-conforming comedians are superior. They are superior right now. Like going back to the humor thing. Exactly. Seriously. I don't know any of their names, but let me tell you, you will laugh and you will feel better about everything.
Well, Murray said, he's like, "I'm so glad that they have outlawed any genders other than male and female because I'm both." Ba-dum-bum, ching. Yay. Yay.
Love it. It's a roast. David loves a roast.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And you have a TV show.
I have a TV show that I wanted to talk about for two reasons. One of which is it relates to the topic of our show, which is heteronormativity and ethical non-monogamy. And there's therapy in it.
Okay.
So, since to harken back to our TV therapist, I think I may have found the best TV therapy ever.
Oh, wow. Strong statement. Okay.
Not perfect, because at the end I got a little disappointed. I'm not going to spoil anything. Right. But the actual therapy was it was therapy of a woman who is also a therapist that functionally focused on what do you want. Oh. It was like watching Paula do therapy. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. What's going on?
What do you
want?
And
she is, of course, a Black woman therapist.
Obviously.
It's very well done. It's like the least cringy. And there was a boundary issue, which they handled correctly. She stopped seeing the person. I was like, what's going on here? I'm so confused.
That's so great.
Yeah. And it does they pathologize something at the end that I don't. It's like the typical, oh my God, here we go. We have to now pathologize and traumatize something that I don't think we need to. I'm not going to spoil it. Okay. That was a scooch annoying. Okay. But I'm not sure they're not going to work their way out of that if they do season 2. So we're going to just let it slide. But if you want some good TV therapy, the show, by the way, which I didn't say,
what is this
is Wanderlust. Which is about with is it Toni Collette? I looked up her name. Right? I will watch any. She's amazing.
Okay, wait, can we just pause that Lisa knew the name of an actress?
Because I looked up, because the only reason I knew was because I looked up, will there be a season 2 when I finished season 1, and I accidentally saw the name and I was like, I'm going to remember this and Paula's going to be so proud.
I'm very impressed right now. And Toni Collette is a genius.
I've never seen. I mean,
She's
everything
brilliant.
she's in, but her acting
Perfect.
in this is like, I'm not even somebody who understands good acting. I was like, this is phenomenal.
But you can tell with her. Yeah.
It's, oh my God, but it's a show about a straight couple, a straight hetero cis couple who decides to do ethical non-monogamy.
Oh.
And until the very end, it's not super pathologized. It's quite, and just kind of like how that goes and what, and I was like, well, this is different from our, but it's an as we're kind of talking, if somebody wants to see not only like when we talk about ethical non-monogamy, what it may look like,
Yeah.
but also the way that our culture deals with it.
Yes.
Is like really important. These messages that we get about what is good and what is bad. It's like a good, and I mean, she's just amazing.
She is
so
amazing.
Wanderlust. And it's
During
only
the
one
pandemic-
season.
Oh, only one season so far. Okay. During the pandemic, Carlo and I watched Muriel's Wedding again. Oh, have you seen that, Lisa?
Long time ago.
Oh
I
my
think I
God,
don't
it's
remember it.
Truly genius.
But I know everybody loved it.
Oh my God. And it's her first movie, and because she's Australian. Oh my God, it's so good.
And the
yeah,
piece I just want to add about that is what you and I are noticing a lot in therapy, especially with women, but not just women, is that show is a tribute to the idea of just doing what you want and letting other people be uncomfortable. And what you and I have been noticing is women are like constitutionally taught never to do that. And there's something about watching it, you're like, whoa. And okay, they're just like, we don't see a lot of that culturally. It's interesting.
No. Why do you think I refer to Miranda Priestley at least once a day? Because she really was the first, that character from how long ago was Devil Wears Prada? I don't know what year that came out. 10 years, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? Time is meaningless. Like, that was the first character we saw a woman not compulsively accommodate everybody else's feelings and experience constantly. And I think about it all the time. At least once a day, I think to myself, no, that wasn't a question. Because no, I'm not receiving feedback at that time. No, thank you. Yeah. Amazing.
And once you see it, man, you can't unsee it. And like yourself and anybody else, I'm like, whoa, this is happening a lot. Wow.
Breaks your brain. I know. I say all the time, if non-men just devoted ourselves to tolerating the first 10 minutes after disappointing someone, we might take over the world. And we should, by the way. We should. Yeah.
It's a cage.
It's a cage.
And speaking of how we may have gotten there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Please.
So for people that are like, are Lisa and Paula like making up this whole like psychotherapy is so patriarchal and blah, blah, blah. I have a piece of psychotherapy writing to share with you. I was reading a dissertation. I don't read a lot of dissertations just because.
So smart right now.
But I came across somebody's who wrote about improv and therapy. And those I will sometimes read because it's not researched. And I love it when people do that. And I didn't finish it because they're very long. But they were writing about complex trauma being treated through improv, which obviously, of course, duh. I just want to say, when I was doing my MSW, would have probably also put this quote in my paper because I hadn't had kids yet. And we were all the number of times we read this woman-hating misogynistic crap as truth.
God.
I just, of course. And then you become a parent and I read it in a real different way. So let me read to you how we all come to hate women.
Mm-hmm.
During the 1960s, analyst Masood Khan introduced the concept of cumulative trauma. Khan believed that a mother serves as a protective shield for their infant who cannot fend for themselves. This was 1963, he said that. Within the shield of protection, a child is safe to go through the stages of development until they mature, ideally into a capable, full-functioning adult. Khan purports that cumulative trauma occurs and compounds when there are breaches in a mother's ability to provide a protective shield for the infant. Blah. Careful to clarify, Khan points out that the breach does not necessarily occur from intrusive pathology coming from the mother, but rather a sort of neglect, where the mother is incapable or unable to help the child develop an independent ego strength. A deficit in ego strength as a child can lead to an adult who experiences a weak or non-existent sense of self, which may serve as a mechanism for the individual to stay stuck in a perpetual state of being victimized.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Women have no power, but all of the responsibility. Everything is a woman's fault. Everything is always the woman's fault. Oh my God.
A protective shield from what? The guy who's like beating the
Right.
crap out of her? Well,
Exactly.
he's not traumatized by that. The baby is
No.
traumatized by the mother's failure to defend the baby from literally all that is wrong in the world.
Which is men.
Kidding me?
Exactly.
And let me tell you, the number, how many times did you read something like this as gospel? All day long. Right. I want to cancel Freud. Cancel him. This is nonsense. Or this con guy. Canceled. Oh, Freud I'm mad at. This is actually in this. I'm watching this documentary on sexual pleasure on Netflix because why not?
Great.
Did you know that they had mapped the clitoris into like diagrams? And then Freud came along and said the female orgasm is inferior and minimalizing. They took it out.
Of course they did.
They took our anatomy out of all the drawings for decades. That's why I want to cancel Freud. And that guy is the what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Right.
I want to break things. So anyway, if you're ever sitting in therapy, like this feels a little geared towards the interests of white men. There you are.
There you are. Because there's nothing wrong with you. Yes.
No.
Absolutely. Also, I love how this is like in the 1960s, the woman should be in charge of everything. Also, she has no power. She has no bank account. She's literally a victim of the whim of any man ever, anywhere, all the time. But it's her fault if the kid is traumatized. Everything is a woman's fault.
Yeah. Well, Anne, I feel like subtly it's like this allows us to explain the non-functional, weaponized incompetence, useless man, right? Is like, oh, yeah, your mother failed you. Again, I'm sure women, we're not going to give that because, that's your own pathology and you're just a freaking mess. But we have to somehow justify these non-functional men who are narcissistic and live into their victimhood. And we're going to do that by blaming the woman that raised. Are you kidding me? The loops. The loops.
Well, and I'm going to talk about the Industrial Revolution later and how it all comes down to that as well. Because the men are the manager and the women are the workers. So it's always the worker's fault.
Great. I love it. We're just doing so much history today. Quite the history lesson. We're gonna
get it. So Lisa, I want you to start out in terms of like why we feel like now and why we feel like we need to talk about this and give us some context.
So I don't know what got us talking about this or thinking about this, but so people are articulating right now, because we are taping this at the end of February, that, what we are seeing, the violence against trans people, the attempting to erase women from government buildings, like literally taking our pictures down, the terrorizing of LGBTQ. This is like the last gasp of the patriarchy, right? Like right before empires fall, things get very, 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 very ugly.
Yeah.
And so there is reason to fear that and to be terrified and to be angry and to be scared, but that we can also have a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Because the patriarchy knows that the jig is up.
Yeah.
Like that's part of why this is happening. They know that everyone has figured out this is not true and they have to try to control it back. And one thing I was realizing is that if you have anyone raising kids right now, if you have introduced them even a scooch to an open playing field about their own gender and their own sexual orientation, unlike the way you and I were raised, which was very like you were a boy, you were a girl, if if you give them even a little bit of breathing room, they're all trans. They are all trans at some point by the time before they're 10. Like they just know. It's like, of course we're not either a boy or a girl, and sometimes we change every other month. Like who knows? The kids know that the binaries are fake the minute you give, and that's why they're trying to take all the wiggle room away. They're like, if we give them words, they're going to use the words, and nobody wants that. But like, that's all it takes is words.
They just need vocabulary. I mean, honestly, if you think about the way we were raised, if we had had all the vocabulary, how marvelous that would have been.
Yeah.
How marvelous. Yes,
Yeah.
that I could be this, or I could be this, or I could be somewhere in between, or I could be a word that means that I'm none of it and all of it all at once. Great.
Yeah. And how much freedom does that give me to then navigate according to my own internal compass of what I want from a relationship or how I want to present myself to the world?
Yes.
That is very dangerous for capitalism, the patriarchy, all of it. If you start to listen to yourself and be like, oh, I want this, things get a little chaotic.
I'm this, and it does not affect anyone. That's the other thing everybody's seeing through. True. It's nobody's business. I'm this.
It's nobody's business. Nobody cares. And so I think we can be hopeful because, yes, they are going to shove everybody back underground for a while. They're going to make things very brutal and very horrible. And if you do want a show to watch about that, Fellow Travelers has very nice eye candy for all of us.
We're going to make an adding.
What's that guy's name? I don't know his name. The white collar guy. He's
Matt Bomer.
pretty. Oh my God.
It should be illegal how gorgeous he is.
Yeah.
It's not even fair.
It's not allowed.
No.
Like, it's just wrong.
He's
and
so pretty.
Speaking of history, because literally that show is about what they did to LGBTQ people under McCarthyism and then the AIDS crisis, how they survived it back to the, like, we protested in the morning, we danced at night. It is a beautiful show about that. And that
and
they, we got somewhere better after. So it's like, this is horrific. And we do know how to, and like, I keep coming back to Taylor Swift's words about shade never made anybody less gay. They can do whatever they want, but like, it's out now. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Like, you can't put this in the box anymore.
Well, and that's what like I said last time, I think about my mom's words about, like, he wants it to be 1930s Germany. And I love the tweet that's like, it's actually going to be 1789 France. But also it's like, we have tiny computers in our hands where we can see trans people in Thailand. Like, we can't go back. Try as you might. Trans people have always existed. In fact, way more than you would have ever acknowledged. And, white men are not going to make that go away.
The jig is up. The children know. And Gen Alpha doesn't give a F. They will tell Paula that they don't like Lady Gaga. They don't care. They're doing what they want.
Clutching my pearls. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go through some concepts because some people may not know all of these concepts and what they mean and how they relate to why nothing is wrong with you. You are just in binaries that have never existed and they're making you sick. So, Lisa, tell us about ethical non-monogamy.
So, well, and the first concept, I don't know if because we're talking about heteronormativity. Do people know what that is? Should we explain that? Do you want to explain why this is an umbrella under what heteronormativity is the umbrella of?
Yeah. So heteronormativity is what makes heterosexuality seem like it's natural, why it is the privilege. It is the assumption that everybody is naturally heterosexual and that anything outside of heterosexuality is an aberration, which is scientifically, historically false. It is not true. It's never been true. But the idea is that heteronormativity is the norm, and anything that's not, I only want to participate in the opposite genitals is the norm thing, and everything outside of that is not norm. This is not true. And historically speaking, it's never been true. And in fact, the binaries of gender and sexuality are different things, and we can talk about that. But all of these binaries that have been thrust upon us, I say 75 times a day, all binaries are a lie, all binaries are a lie, all binaries are a lie. But it's white supremacist thinking around binaries, and this has all been thrust upon us by white men in robes, meaning the Catholic Church, meaning Christianity, meaning colonialism.
Yeah, and none of it is real.
None of
and so we're also talking about monogamy, even though that's not necessarily part of heteronormativity, but this idea of monogamy is the norm. Everyone comes out of their mother monogamous, and anyone else is deviant. It's the whole, it's deviant, it's pathologized. And so what therapy, and that's why if you watch Wanderlust, you'll kind of, it's like therapy has enormous power to convey these biases, and they never get questioned or like thought about. So it's like, well, if you are not in this heteronormative monogamous box, I will then you can spend your whole life with me trying to fix you. Ew. Much like if you're not in a thin body, you can spend your whole life trying to fix that. That was, I think, when we started talking about this was when I was like, oh my God, monogamy, they're just fat phobia. It's the same thing.
All the same thing. The whole everything in white supremacist colonial culture is everybody can and should be this one way if they just try hard enough. Monogamous, heterosexual, thin, rich, whatever it is, you can and should be that. You're just trying hard enough if you're not that yet. And it's all a fucking scam.
And it's a great way to get you to spend money and hate yourself and have self-loathing and all the things that feed capitalism.
Exactly.
So ethical non-monogamy is, I think I started reading about this and got so it's basically the practice of having multiple partners. However, it is not cheating and lying about it. So that is this is not about like, oh, I get to like do whatever, because that is, I find, deeply problematic and gross and harmful. Ethical non-monogamy is the practice of having very direct, honest, clear, consensual conversations with all of your partners about what are we agreeing to.
Yes.
And I think the reason I started getting, because I have clients that are practicing this, and the more, and then you're like, oh God, I got to go learn this. Our clients are always, it's like, oh, now I'm learning about this. But I've been working with couples a lot around agreements and realizing how unskilled the straights are. We as white people, I don't even know. We are so unskilled. I put myself in this box too. And having just conversations about agreements. Yeah. And we've been taught that indirect, vague communication is like the only romantic, mysterious, exciting thing to do. And we have no skills to be like, no, that's not what I want. That won't work for me. Oh, maybe and then giving people freedom to choose.
Yes.
And so ethical non-monogamy is whether or not you want to have multiple partners, but it is a beautiful framework.
Yes.
For the ethics of direct, clear, boundaried, consented communication that I think we all could stand to learn a lot from.
Amen.
Because I've just been noticing people are embarrassed to even have needs, to like know what they need.
Oh,
and I'm like, that's a good practice, is to just be like, what do I want? And everybody's like, oh, that's wrong. What's happening?
I mean, that's how capitalism works, right? If nobody ever asks them what they want, then you'll just like give all of your life and energy to a corporation your whole fucking life, and then you'll die. So it works really well. It's deliberate that you have no idea what you want and need. It's deliberate that you feel guilty and shame when you recognize what you want and need.
Because then you just buy yourself shit to fill that hole, or buy someone else crap hoping it makes them happy, when you could just be like, what do you want?
Right. Yeah. And so obviously monogamy is the practice or the state of having one sexual relationship with just your partner. That's what monogamy is. And everything I learned about monogamy, I learned from RuPaul. And because honestly, like the first time I read Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Marie Brown, which is amazing. But then, Mama Ru has been out here for decades talking about how he and his husband, have never been monogamous. It's so weird. He has said in like countless interviews, the hoax, he says, is that monogamy is something that can actually happen. He says, if someone promises you that this whole area, pointing to his genitals, belongs completely to them, they're lying. Which is so gross anyway, when you think about it, that like, my genitals now belong to you and only you is fucking nasty. That's some
and how much pain? How much pain do you see the straight monogamous couples? I'm like, this causes so much pain, because instead of just even letting themselves acknowledge, it's like, then we gotta lie about it, then we gotta feel bad about it, we have to hate ourselves. It almost reminds me of like conversion therapy.
It is,
where it's like conversion therapy for straight people, and some people are like not built that way, but it's like, well, if you want to have a house and you want to have a dual income and you want to have a kids, you got to get yourself in this box. And a lot of people are not made for that box. My father was not made for this box and got shoved in it, and let me tell you, that wasn't good for anyone.
for anyone.
No
Because
one.
then there's the resentment and the cheating, and
Yeah.
he's a terrible person. And is he a terrible person, or is
It's
it
like,
right? Yeah.
I mean, right. It's like, it's the lying and the cheating that make it problematic. And that comes because of the shame.
Exactly. Because the idea that you can and should be this thing that probably nobody is. Every client I've ever had who cheated, quote unquote, I've had to have the conversation that like nobody is only right. Nobody's doing it. That's not true. There are lots of people who are monogamous, who are happy being monogamous. That's so great. But that is far fewer than you think. That is
the statistics.
Small.
I have a stat. It's 30. So what they did a research study. 33% of monogamous couples will cheat, and then we got to assume that's the ones reporting it, right?
Okay,
you're
so
almost
80.
I mean, I'm rounding up. You're almost at half at that point. I feel like if we take into account the people lying, but it's like 33% is a third. That's a lot. That's like a lot. So maybe again, that's like Esther Perel wrote an entire book.
Oh God.
Telling us like domesticity and monogamy don't really work. They don't go great. And instead of extrapolating a message about the frame being the problem, we extrapolated a message, and she has a very big business based on, but I'm going to try to like get this to work in therapy and fix the individuals. And I'm like, we were so close. It was it was right there.
We'll take new information and we'll just stuff it in this frame. I mean, the other thing that Mama Ru says that I love is that I give to people a lot is like, if I have married this person because I love this person more than anyone else on the planet, why would I want to keep them from doing something that will bring them pleasure? Why would I want to put restraints on the person I love the most? Because we have been brainwashed to believe that when you love somebody, you only want your genitals to touch their genitals for the rest of your life. That's so weird.
Weird. We've the really sadistic part of the brainwashing that I see is the female part that I feel like we were indoctrinated into with John Hughes films and every other film on the planet.
Totally.
Which was this idea that if I can't make a man love me forever and be his then I have failed. It's again, I failed the diet.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, well, maybe that was a weird setup in the first place and like not a good, but if you put that expectation on people, then like they will, do their hair and do their makeup and try to be perfect and kill themselves trying to please a man. So again, works great for some people, but it's a very bad premise to start people off with.
Yeah. Yes.
Not good. One of my best teachers about this was our friend Michael Giordano, who I love, who's an asect LGBTQ therapist. He's taught me so much about every time he teaches anything, I'm always like, whoa, I
know.
My straight brain from Missouri never even like computed that. But he said to me once, he was like, you straights are so precious with your monogamy. And I remember just being like, yeah. What? Like that was like 5 years ago. I'm still thinking about that. Like what? He's right. What are we doing? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's the thing. The other part of all of this is the queer, straight, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I guess I want to say like that queer just for us, for in my daily life, but also for this conversation, queer just means not straight. That's all it means. Queer just means not straight. And that does not just mean who you want to have sex with. Can you explain that part?
Yes, and that I hate that part because people get weirded out about
people being me.
Right? Yeah. Well, and they get weirded out because I identify as queer. Carlo identifies as straight. Carlo and I have been in a relationship for 20 years. People are like, like wrap their head around it. And it's like, I am not a straight person. I don't know how else to, I don't know. Like, first of all, I don't have to prove it to you. Second of all, queer is not about what genitals I am currently involving my genitals with. Like, that's so fucking weird to have an identity around that. It's weird.
But as like children of the 80s, that was drilled into us
that you're
like
gay
drilled.
Or straight. Again, binaries are a lie, that there's this box or this box, not real, has never been real, right? And again, historically speaking, people had sex with whoever was around, you guys. They did not was not this like
try prison. That's what's going on in prison, let me tell you. It's like, oh, you're here.
Right. Like, you think Brokeback Mountain, that all these men, like, these were the only two gay, like, men who had sex with each other out on the range for months? Okay, calm down. You know, it's like there weren't these boxes, and there wasn't a. It's like I love that now there's all the LGBTQ plus IA blah blah blah. I love all of it so much, and I love the community blah blah blah. But there's also a part of me that's like, this is a weird thing to identify yourself with. What are we doing? You know?
Yeah. And it's it has been quite the, so I will just say, because I am one of the people, and I'm just, so our colleague Larissa Godfrey Smith, who we love, she and you have been like, because I have always identified as straight because I only like to have sex with men. That's been my whole life. That is still my experience. And you're both kind of like, are you sure though? Because you have a carabiner instead of a purse, and your hair is very short. And I've always been like, yeah, but I always feel like I'm not, like, it was so entwined with the sexual piece that it never even let me think about anything else. She has me reading this book, Gender Magic. That is the main thing that people think is like, but my life, I'm not this enough. Exactly. And so then you keep yourself in, it's really kind of blowing my mind. I'm having a moment, but it's such a limiting purview. And I think about this because what I now say is I'm not a straight presenting female. That's what I've come to, because I still don't feel entitled to say queer. I'm working on it, but I still don't feel entitled. Larissa's authority should really be making me feel that I am, but whatever. But I'm not a straight presenting female. I never have been. I hate doing hair. I hate doing makeup. My mom tried to put dresses on me at 3, and I would have rather like punched her. I mean, no. Great. But when I was in therapy, I was told like, well, it's your fault you're single because you won't wear heels and put on makeup. And I was thinking about that in light of this book, and like, again, the bias, right? The bias of the heteronormativity. Yeah. And how many more expansive things could have been said to me instead of that? Like, one being like, you might have to be really direct with the men that you're interested in. Right. So that that would have been like a helpful, but instead it's like, oh, well, yeah, if you're single forever, I mean, that's your fault because you won't wear heels. Can you imagine? Like, I'm now like, what? But those are how these biases play out in therapy in these subtle ways that I think we just assume like, oh, well, that's just how it is. It doesn't have to be how it is. Larissa would never say that to someone. I now never would. You never would. No. But it's like, great. So anyway, if you want to have a whole gender thing, you can read this book, Gender Magic, and find a word for yourself. We can all be queer. We are all queer.
Everybody's queer. Come on. We need to get those t-shirts made that like, everybody's gay and everybody's hot. That I will go down in history. That I believe that with every ounce of my existence. Everybody's gay, everybody's hot. The end, period. Goodbye.
Love it.
Yes. So the other part of all of this that Lisa, why you brought this up was the relationship agreements consent. You already said a little bit about that, but say a little bit more about in terms of like why we both see so much pain and suffering in relationships, and especially when people come to me for couples counseling, and I'm just like, do you know what she wants, and does she know what you want, and have you guys talked to each other ever? Have you been in the same room together?
And do you feel allowed to want what you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is like the new layer that I'm now seeing so clearly, is that like women, at least. Yeah. And I think men have been taught to feel so much shame about like women that I have that are trying to date, and I'm trying to kind of talk to them about this, like, if you were doing ethical non-monogamy, you would have this like checklist of like, this is, and they're literally like, and the things they want are they're very minimal. These are not like, and they're like, oh, I would never say that to somebody, that would be so needy and gross. And it's like, that is where, because of this romantic framework about keep it indirect, keep it mysterious, never let him know you want something. What's all those crappy books we read about negging the girl, and like, remember the one about never let him know you like him, and that's how you catch him? I mean, all that crap that it's like, it's so ingrained in people. And I'm like, oh my God, we should have all just been super direct, because it saves so much time. It's more efficient. And then you don't have to spend 10 years trying to the whole thing is premised on if someone loves you, you can change them. That's what I feel like the jig is for women. And it's like, oh my God, that's a very bad box. But it's what all of these, now that the couples, that's like what is happening. No one knows how to say, like, what do we want to agree to?
Yeah. Well, and also, like, if you marry somebody or you're with somebody hoping that they'll become something different than what they are, that is not love.
But that is what every rom-com premise on planet Earth, right? It's all the like freewheeling guy who loves someone else.
Ew.
And the right? It's all, if you look at every rom-com probably before, I think they're getting a little better now, although I don't know. But like all the crap we grew up with, that is, I mean, Some Kind of Wonderful, Pretty in Pink, that is the premise.
Yeah.
All the Hugh Grant movies. I mean, he's very pretty, but like the premise of all of them is if you are a good enough woman, you can change him.
Ew.
Like that's what it's based on. And now I'm like with all these couples and I'm like, oh no. And there's nothing wrong with them as individuals.
No.
We learn no skills.
No. Well, and then I wanted to introduce these two other terms because I think what we're talking about more than just heteronormativity and monogamy and these things. We're talking about these things too. And these I've taken from the philosopher Elizabeth Brake, who is from the University of Arizona. So amatonormativity, right? And this is what you're talking about with the rom-coms, assuming that everyone wants to get married and that unmarried or unpartnered people are unhappy and or lonely. I've had to like just get this out of Carlo so much. Carlo, unfortunately for me, but fortunately for him, grew up with parents who met in high school and fell in love and are still in love, and they've always loved each other, and it's like really weird. So Carlo has this very romantic view of, and like when somebody's not coupled, he tends to go to this place of like, oh, I just feel bad for them, and I'm like, why? You think it's so great living with you? Do you think that's great? You know, it's like, they're fine. Everyone's fine, you know? And because my brother, who we've talked about, is so very on the spectrum, well, we thought he wasn't coupled up, but then we found out he's had a girlfriend for 40 years, which is a whole nother thing. But for a long time, I've had to tell Carlo, like, if he wanted a partner, he would have one. To assume everybody's life goal is to get a fucking someone to fall in love with you is weird. It's so weird. Not everybody wants to be coupled. It's okay if they don't.
And part of what helped me, I have friends that started practicing ethical non-monogamy. And I mean, my mind was like, who has the time? I was like, what is happening?
A lot of time.
But as I learned about it, it was like, oh, this allows like, you know, a guy who can only like maybe an autistic guy or who can only tolerate like one night a week. He wants to like have a girlfriend for like one night a week. That's all well, he can do that because E&M is so like, he doesn't have to meet, rather than living in a house with a wife who hates him because like he's never available and he's always like playing video games and he's never wants to talk to me. It's like he can be very clear about this is what I can offer. Totally. And then someone else can say, oh, that would work for me actually, because I'm like in this relationship and I would like to have this, you know, that need isn't being met. I can do this once a week with you, whatever. No one's getting hurt. No one has to feel bad about themselves. And when I understood that, I was like, whoa.
The expectations, right?
Yeah.
Gone. Yeah.
You can just be clear. This is what I can offer. People who may have jobs where they can only like they're working constantly, but like they can only do one night a week. Well, again, you can have a partner hating you for 3 decades and give you chronic stress and be miserable. Right. Or you could just be like, you know what? I can offer 2 nights a week to somebody. And that's it. Like, great.
Feel great about
God, be clear.
Yes. Great. Yes. So the other parts of amatonormativity are treating romantic relationships as more important than friendships, right? Which is so much a part of our society. The structuring of society around married couples. Again, that married people are superior to unmarried people. That's why they get discounts on taxes. That's why people can buy houses, right? Dual income, right? So the hierarchy of married couples at the pinnacle, at the top. And then like people ask children, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend yet? Or like people ask me and Carlo, are you married yet? We've been together 20 years. I don't think it's happening.
Not on my to-do list.
No.
And part of why it's contributing to chronic loneliness, I think. Because I sit with, it's usually women, but not entirely. I sit with married people who are like, I got married and I have no friends. And it's either because it's like, well, yeah, you devoted all your attention to this one person as you were trained to do. But sometimes it's even just like, it feels like there's this unconscious assumption of the people around them, like, well, they don't need me anymore. And so then the friend is like, has no support, right? Or friends are like, well, I can't ask her to come pick me up and take me to my colonoscopy or whatever because they're married. There's this weird like privileging, and it's making everyone lonely and sad, and it's not good.
No, I mean, I say to my female clients who identify as straight, whenever they are talking about like, oh, I need a man, blah blah blah, and I'm like, do you know that the prize for getting a man to fall in love with you is then you have to live with the man for the rest of your life? Like that's the prize. That's
and they're the main person you talk to
all day. Ew. So that's Amatonormativity. Allonormativity is the way that our culture regards sex and sexual experience. So allonormativity is assuming and equating sexual inexperience with immaturity. That like how much you have sex and whether or not you want to have sex a lot is some sort of value judgment, says something about yourself as a character. So medical professionals assuming that lack of sexual activity is a cause for concern. This is so much in therapy. This is why I hate sex therapists, because there's, again, this box that we should all be having this much sex. We should all be wanting this much sex. We should all be, and it's like, that is so gross. There are people who are not motivated by sex, and that is so okay. It's so weird, and that's why I love that asexual is one of the letters in the LGBTQIA, because it is a valid way to exist, to not be motivated and not seek out sex. It's almost as if all of the things that we believe were taught to us by white, horny men. Almost.
Yeah. It's like, well, when I did a consultation with somebody, with a sex therapist, and it was like, I was like, well, my sense with these, is that I think the emotional piece has to be worked out, but, and then the sex will follow. And she's like, no, it's always that the sex is first and then the emotional piece follow. And I was like, always for everyone on planet Earth? Like it was so dogmatic. Rigid. And like, this is the law for all people. And I was like, wow, I cannot think of one thing, not even everybody likes pizza.
Which is wild.
Which is, insane, but it's allowed. Like, I'm like, I wouldn't say everyone on planet Earth likes pizza or else there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
I think they might be sad and I might not want to have dinner with them. But again, that's, my orientation.
Right.
But it's like, that is wildly, it's that pathologizing instead
whatever
of like,
is not.
That everybody is vastly different. Vastly.
Right. So two other tenets of allonormativity: assumption that sexual liberation means that you are having sex. Maybe your sexual liberation means that you're not really that interested and it's not really that important to you. Great.
Or you're not just having sex to please someone else, or you're not like all kinds of things could be going, but like, whatever.
Again, Mother RuPaul, who has, helped all of us. She has said, I've enjoyed maybe 5 out of all of the sexual experiences I've ever had. I'd much rather laugh with somebody than have sex with them. Good for you. Great. Great. Right?
What the poor therapist would do to RuPaul if they got there.
Well, that's why Ru doesn't go to therapy, right?
Yeah, good.
And then the one that gets to me sometimes, because I live in a very queer-friendly place, is that many queer spaces and resources emphasize sex over all other forms of queer relationships and identities. And I am not a gay man, but I have spent a lot of time in gay male spaces. And there's just so much, and I'm not against it, but it's like, queer people are just like you and I, turns out. And maybe some of them are not that interested in just the sexual aspect of queerness, right? I mean, I have had sexual experiences with people of all genders, but like, I don't think that's what makes me queer. And I don't think that should be the defining characteristic of queerness, just like it should not be the defining characteristic of straightness or of anything, right?
Well, there's diversity within that. And I see, like, especially gay men struggle. It's almost like
Yeah.
like straight men that are like, oh, I don't want to like sleep with everyone in my high school, and we all go like, well, what's wrong with you? And it's like, well, I don't know, maybe you just don't want to, or like, and they
Right?
have like an inferiority
Yes.
about like there's something wrong with me.
Right. 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 And so the way these frameworks harm everybody is that, like you and I have said, right? People feel broken or like something is wrong with them. People have a lack of sexual desire or libido, and they see it as inherently some sort of medical issue that needs to be. I hear this with menopausal women all the time. They're like, "There's something wrong with me. I don't want to have sex with my husband." I'm like, "Your gross ass husband in 40 years?" No, but like, you know, it may not be that there's anything wrong, that there's like very sexual periods and chapters of a person's life, and maybe there's less sexual
And then you lose
chapters.
all your estrogen.
Yeah, well, there's that.
That has a significant ramification.
Right?
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you and I work with a lot of people who feel pressured to date or have sex or get married or partner up, even if they don't really want to at all. Right? People
or
who
they
are
don't know
single.
why they want to.
I know.
Like, that's
Yeah.
a thing I really pick apart with, is like, tell me,
Yes.
especially with
Yeah.
like the having babies, sometimes I'm like, what do you think that's going to
Whoa.
do for your life? And like somebody will say like, oh, then I won't be lonely. And I'm like, you do know that mothers are the most isolated people.
The
Like,
most
let's
miserable
look
people.
at the reality of this
Yeah.
and make sure it's like, because again, it's like that direct and indirect. We are just taught like
Totally.
this myth, and everyone accepts it. And then you're like, but let's look at it. Let's piece it apart. Is that,
Totally.
do the women that you know that are mothers seem less lonely? And they're always like, no, they actually, wait, no.
Right?
And it's like, why do you then assume you can like override that?
Totally.
It's fascinating.
Totally. People who are single or are in non-traditional relationships are looked down upon, like we talked about that. Romantic relationships are expected to again, that like take priority over relationships. The number of like non-men who identify as straight that I've said, like, girl, you are a complex bitch. That's why I love you. You need an army of humans around you. It's not, you think one cis man is gonna like take care of you and all of your needs? That's so silly.
For
So
all of
silly.
us, that's silly. For children, it's
so
like what you
silly.
say about the village. It's like what
Yes.
children need is a village. Like we all need different mirrors, different parts of ourselves come
Yes.
out with different people. It's like when you recommended The Red Tent and like that whole book about the
Yes.
women. It's like all these relationships are complex, and it's why like the whole the individualistic, you know, the households. It's like I'm not
Yes.
sure
No.
this is great, because what if a kid doesn't have a mirror for them? I mean, the out of two people, you think there's going to be a mirror? I
Right.
mean, what are the statistical odds of that? Like,
Yes.
and then we say, oh, the parent failed the kid. Well, did they, or could?
The
I mean, we
society.
can't be everything, and it's like
No.
it sets everyone up to be fake. I think it sets us up for that people pleasing, or that it's like kids need
Yeah.
multiple mirrors and
Yeah.
mentors and people around them, and we all do. Like,
Yes.
and there's nothing that doesn't mean that the one, that's where we're taught like if someone can't be everything to you, they've failed or you have failed. What a
Right?
weird idea.
It's so weird.
Like, what a strange idea. We go from, I have people that are like, my mom always told me I didn't have enough friends. And I was such, and I see all these parents with all this anxiety about he doesn't have enough friends.
Oh
And then we
God.
go from that, we're going to pathologize that because every child on planet Earth needs 10 friends. And then you're going to grow up and we're going to go, but now you only need one.
Right.
Make
One
it make
person.
sense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Especially for straight men, right? Then because we don't teach straight men how to be in relationship with each other anyway, and then they were like all of their emotional needs are to be with this woman, and then this woman is raising kids and has to be your emotional whipping post and has to like I say to Carla sometimes,
Right.
I can't listen to your stories. You have to go talk to someone else.
Yeah.
Text Nameka. Do something. I can't listen to you anymore.
And instead of viewing it like maybe this is, she's just too busy and this is too much and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, the man then has to feel bad about himself. I suck. She doesn't love me. I mean, it's all such a setup.
It's set up to fail. Set up to fail. 1,000%. I have a new theory that men, tell me that. underneath my bullet points. Do you find it?
My theory is, because I think a lot about couples, because I sit with a lot of straight couples.
Yeah.
When I started kind of looking into the ethical non-monogamy and thinking about it and like listening to my friends' experience, is like,
yeah,
because the men are not behaving great. Statistically, by and large, the men are not behaving well in their relationships. They're not okay. They don't have any skills. They have no domestic skills. They're just kind of not behaving well. The women are overfunctioning. They're exhausted. It's not good.
Yeah.
And I do sometimes ask myself, like, is this just my point of view? Because I see the worst of it. Like, we're couples therapists, the happy, who know, I could be wrong, but I've read a lot of articles. I don't think I am. Men are very driven by competition and comparison. Well, we all are, that one of the things the people who practice ethical non-monogamy told me is like, you can't not show up. Like, you can't check out because you are kind of like, I think it might make them behave better if they knew like, oh, I agreed to my wife can open up this relationship at any point, or, she's allowed to be out dating. I don't know. I think they might dress better, smell better, like do more around the house, because and I'm not saying like, I don't love the idea of like, but I just was thinking about like, maybe this is another flaw in the system.
Yeah.
That we've allowed men, there's so many ways that it's baked in that I think men are programmed to be like, once I'm married, I'm done. I don't have to try anymore. I don't have to do anything. She's stuck. Once she's got kids, she's like extra stuck.
Oh God.
And I don't know. I think some competition, until the patriarchy is fully resolved,
totally,
I feel like some competition might do marriages with the straights good. That's my theory. I think they're not worried. I think they're not worried enough about like other people being better than them.
Appeal to the programming. I mean, it kind of feels like that. It's like that in the animal world. We just went whale watching in Mexico, and you know what those lady whales are doing in the bay of Puerto Vallarta? They are waiting for different male whales to come around and impress them. They're just hanging out, swimming around, and this male whale comes up and tries to impress her and sings this song, and she's like, next. And so maybe this is what...
See, I feel like if that was what women were doing every Sunday while men were watching football, the men would be watching less football. That's what I think.
I mean, isn't it it's the male peacocks, right, that are showing off their feathers to see if they... I mean, I think we're onto something here.
We're due, yeah. Something is not... I mean, and the queers will say, and you sent me a meme, the queers are... I don't know if people that listen to us are in like a metropolitan area where we are like inundated with feedback from the queers. They are like, what is wrong with you guys? Like the bar that women have for men is so disturbing to the queers. They're like, this is deeply problematic.
Terrifying. Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, I sent Lisa a TikTok that was like these two gay men listening to their straight female friend being like, his mom doesn't like him and his sister hates him and he's kind of an asshole and he doesn't have a job. And I love him. I think he's the one. And the gays are like, oh God, here we go. Man, that's real.
They're worried about us. And I think if they have given so much like, again, it's the mirrors, right? When you don't have the heteronormative monogamy like mirrored back and you have Michael Giordano go, you guys are so funny. It's like, wait, this is funny? Why is this? Oh, wait, maybe this is funny. What are we doing?
It's not the only option. It's not the only option, it turns out. Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I want to say is because I get really into like the history of all of it and how did we get here? And I just want to say that like, because I say this all the time to clients, like this whole thing that a man and a woman fall in love, only touch each other's genitals for the rest of time, buy a box next to another box, right? Like all of this, none of this is all since the Industrial Revolution. This is all so brand spanking new. It is so new. It's not how humans are supposed to exist. It's not how we're supposed to raise children. How many mothers do I say that to on a daily basis? And it's all about, and this is where I got really into an Aquarius spiral around, it's all based on, we're doing families the way men run companies. It's all based on the Industrial Revolution. The men are quite literally controlling the means of production. It is a corporation. They are the boss and the manager, and this is not about thriving or mental health, or it has nothing to do with love. Because love and freedom are the same vibration. So how can this have to do anything to do with love? It is all about the family mirroring back the fact that the Industrial Revolution and how we live after the Industrial Revolution is good. It has nothing to do with how we're actually supposed to feel good or be connected to ourselves or be even connected to our genitals in any way. It's all about how men control everything and how to make men more in control and more wealthy. That's all it's about.
And I want to repeat what you said, because this is something that you said. I mean, I assume you said it to me like over a year ago-ish, but it was like one of those record scratches. The idea that love and freedom are the same vibration. That literally in my brain was like, wait, what? That's not what? Huh? I mean, when you start to really, if you like live your life going, I'm going to just assume that's true and see what things look like. Let me tell you, they start to look different. So I just wanted to like draw attention to that. Like, amusement is the highest vibration, which is also one that was just like, whoa, that's an epiphany. And love and freedom are the same vibration. Try that on.
Yes.
And the other, if you are like kind of, we're in 80s Gen X, I was brainwashed into the monogamy. I have been re-listening to Hamilton. I'm just gonna, which is weird currently because we have no America left anymore. It's weird. I'm listening to it, but when it first came out, 5 years ago, it was like Hamilton is such a jerk. He's such a cheating jerk and blah. And now you listen to it, you're like, I think maybe this was a problematic construct. Like, listen to Hamilton again, without assuming that monogamy is a good setup for anyone. And listen, see what you hear. It's different. It sounds different. If you like Hamilton, which don't we all?
Don't we all? Isn't it required of all of us? Yeah, I mean, I think, Nameka and I love the Housewives and all the terrible but sociological experiments called Bravo TV shows. And once you release the idea that cheating exists and that there is any such thing as cheating, and then you watch these shows, you're like, all of these women are just torturing themselves. Like, it's all just like self-inflicted torture. Oh, you're a victim of your own choices? Okay. Like, again and again and again and again. Oh, and then the women are so brainwashed to believe, and all people are, we're so brainwashed to believe that whether or not somebody wants their genitals to only touch my genitals for the rest of my life has something to do with me and my character.
It's our value. It's our value. And it's so
gross.
Deeply, it just causes, I'm just becoming in tune with how much pain this causes. And I'm not into like lying, cheating. Like I'm not saying like that's, but like if we get under that at all the layers of how these things get built, it's like we're just expecting, I think, a little too much of the frame is expecting.
Right.
You and I started this podcast because we were like, the therapy frame is really rigid and kind of ew, and maybe not great for
not helping. Yeah,
and I feel like now we're like, oh God, it's so many frames. It's like it's not a great frame for all humans, or some humans may be monogamous. Sure. Are they all? I don't know. I'm not sure that's. So. It's like I think we're all a little bit more complex, and again, you show people words and you give them options, and suddenly everybody's trans. All the children are trans.
Well, no, Chomsky said the way to get people to oppress themselves is to convince them that the oppressive way is normal, right? And I always think about that in terms of like specifically with this. Once it became not necessary for survival anymore, for this man and this woman to live together, like it's not necessary anymore because women can have their own credit cards and stuff, then the culture always has to make it a moral imperative, right? Then they have to sell it to us as we are immoral if we don't do it, if it's no longer necessary. And that's where I think that's where we are right now, is that
or they're just going to take our credit cards by force. That's the other.
Right. And
have cash. Everybody get cash.
Get your cash. That's true. But yeah, and now the Gen Alphas are like, none of this is real, and I refuse. I reject the premise of it all. Great.
And we love them for it.
Thank God. If you have any questions about heteronormativity, allonormativity, amatonormativity, any of this nonsense, let us know. Give us a thumbs up, ring our bell on on
subscribe,
YouTube.
like.
Subscribe, like. We would love if you would give us a review on the iTunes or on the Spotify. That would be so great. And we're always happy to hear from you. I think every question that's ever been asked of us, we've answered. So ask us a question if you have one.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. That was a lot.
Great. That was a lot.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye. This podcast and any written materials related to it represent the opinions of Paula Atkinson and Lisa Case and our guests to the show and any written materials. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship.